Hello and welcome to Connecting Kitsap. My name is Matt Murphy and I'm the president of the Port Orchard Chamber of Commerce and your host for today's podcast. With Connecting Kitsap, we put you in touch with what to do, where to go, and the people to know in Kitsap County. Hey, welcome and thanks for joining us today on this edition of the Connecting Kitsap podcast. This week we are sitting down with the City of Port Orchard Mayor Rob Putaansuu, and she's going to talk about what's been going on in 2020, which of course we all know has been an interesting year. And then we're also going to kind of share with us what the goals and the hopes are for the City of Port Orchard in 2021. A lot going on. For being 11 square miles in South Kitsap, there's a lot to do here. And before we get into that, I want to give a shout out to our sponsors, the Stafford Healthcare family, great supporters of the Chamber of Commerce. We have the Peninsula Federal Credit Union, great folks there, Walmart, Dana's Heating and Cooling. Silver sponsors include Kitsap Sun, Grocery Outlet, Excel Business Systems, Don Jake CPA, Ford, Port Orchard Ford, downtown Port Orchard. Bronze sponsors include Victor Thompson from the Thompson Agency, ServPro Kitsap County. Again, the new sponsor, Sunrise Gas and Chimney Service. Air Masters, thank you for joining us again, Air Masters, and Southern Beckham, Atwater, and Barry, great supporters of the Chamber of Commerce, been that way for a long, long time. And so now we're going to go ahead and jump into the discussion with the mayor. We always try to pull these things off without any technical difficulties. Occasionally there's one or two, but we're going to do the best we can to make this as glitch-free as possible. So let's go ahead and join the mayor in his State of the City address for the City of Port Orchard.
All right, and I've got a lot of monitors going here in my Zoom castle, and so if my head's spinning around, it's because I'm looking at the different monitors and my talking points and the PowerPoint. Before I share my screen and go through my typical presentation, which is all the great things we've got going on in our city, I think I want to spend a few moments first to talk about what's really impacting all of us today at COVID and the vaccine rollout. And I'm a positive person, but I have to tell you, so first Tuesday of the month is what we call the elected, the mayors and the county commissioners come together for our countywide policy boards, from transit, the health board, housing, Kitsap, and other organizations. And I left. I'm glad I've had a couple of days to calm down, because when I got some of the information I got on Tuesday, I was a little pissed off, and what's some of the things are going on, in particular when the phase 2 reopening of some of the other communities. I think I'm extremely frustrated that this criteria just seems to be being made up on the fly. One day it works one way, the next it works another. My goodness, it's challenging enough to operate in a business in these difficult times, but it only makes matters worse when the rules are a moving target. There's little or no collaboration from the governor's office. I go to the press briefings. I'm a member of the Association of Washington Cities board, but it's very, very top down, and it's frustrating as an elected leader. I hope you saw the county commissioner's letter that was just recently penned. Association of Washington Cities, as I said, I sit on that board. We recently penned a letter also, and the city is working on a letter. We're going to talk about it next Monday at our Economic Development Committee, and likely the council will take action on that letter. As the mayor, I don't get to do things unless the council says I get to. So, and I have a very good relationship with them. And so I just can't write a letter and light the governor up without them buying off on the letter and hopefully putting their name to that letter too. So, I invite all of you as business owners in this community are welcome to come to our Economic Development Committee. We meet once a month on Mondays. Matt, you can find that meeting time and date in the Zoom link on our website. And talking about vaccine, Uh, my goodness, what a mess. If the state's plan was to have our local health district and medical offices administer this vaccine, we should have known this months ago. And our local health department is doing just phenomenal work. We so far, the numbers I got Tuesday, we've vaccinated 8% of our population. 1.5% of our population, Kitsap County, has been fully vaccinated and gotten both of their vaccines. Last week, Kitsap Public Health administered 2,100 vaccines at the former Harrison Hospital site, and that represents of the vaccines they were provided, they vaccinated 125%. And you ask, how can the heck could they do that? Well, the vial comes with 10 vaccines in it, and they're able to stretch that one dose effectively. And they were also able to get 400 doses from the hospital because I believe they didn't have the manpower to administer those vaccines, and our volunteer site did have the manpower. So, here we had this phenomenal success. We've got state-run vaccination sites, and we're doing just as good a work with volunteers. Public Health asked for 2,000 more vaccines last Friday for this week, and we got 0, which is completely unacceptable. I don't want to be negative, but I want you to recognize that I'm frustrated about this too. There are definitely signs of optimism, but we need to get our schools, our businesses, and our offices open to return our economy to normal. And to do that, we need to get the vaccines to our communities. And I wish I had the answers. I think it's going to get better, but I too am frustrated. I mean, I want to see us all prosper in 2021 and not have a repeat of what we just experienced in 2020. And the first month of the year sure felt like 2020 to me. So that's get off my soapbox here, and I'm going to share my screen now if I can. We practiced this. All right, wonderful. All right. And hopefully it advanced. So, all right, now we're rolling. Okay, so I just want to talk a little bit about some of the successes, the first that we had in Port Orchard in 2020. We drilled that deep aquifer well at the top of the hill at Sedgwick, nearly 2,000 feet deep. We built a lift station just outside the entrance of McCormick Woods that was $2 million. And we create, when I first started as the mayor, we didn't have reserve policies, and we put those in place. And this past year, we had them from our general fund. We've created them for our general fund, but we didn't have them from our utility funds. And so one of the things that this pandemic created, and the inability for folks to make their utility payments and their rent payments and their mortgage payments, it stressed our operating funds and our utilities. So it brought to light that we needed operating reserves in our enterprise funds. We created a sub area plan for an area called Ruby Creek. That's up by Sedgwick and Sydney. And I've got a slide that I'll talk some more about that. We selected a site for our new community center as part of the master plan project downtown. Our police department brought a group of community stakeholders together and created a strategic plan. And I think you may have seen an article about that recently in the Port Orchard Independent, and you can find that document on the city's website. We renewed our environmental permits for the Bay Street pathway, which is allowing us to restart our right-of-way acquisition process. We made significant technology improvements for teleworking and virtual meetings, I think, much like many of you have done. And believe it or not, we had strong sales tax in 2020. And a piece of it is the housing market, but we are truly, we've talked for years about the need to shop local and how that benefits our community. Well, we don't have the regional mall, and with the Amazon, your online shopping that everybody's doing goes to the doorstep of your home, which in turn goes to your local government. So we're benefiting from online sales, people shopping local, in the housing market actually uh, enabled the city. We had very, very strong sales tax in 2020. And just the challenges of managing the city in new ways during COVID, and serving our citizens virtually through email, on the telephone versus in person. I have a lot of goals every year, and they are that goals. And if I accomplish 2/3 of what you see on my screen today, myself and and the city staff, I couldn't do this without any of this without them. Would be a significant achievement. We are designing a new marina pump station down on our waterfront next to the Kitsap Bank drive-through. All of the sewer for our entire city converges at that point, and that facility is nearing capacity. And from there, it is pumped in a force main down to Annapolis to the sewer treatment plant. We need to build out the conveyance system for that new deep aquifer well we've drilled. We need a treatment system and pumps. We just learned a couple days ago, a little hiccup. The State Department of Health has have to approve our plans, and they've pulled all their people that work in the water system over to COVID response, which is probably appropriate. So we're going to have a bit of a delay there as it relates to getting our plans approved and getting that treatment system design finished and out to bid. I talked about the Bay Street Path and our right-of-way phase. We have another deep aquifer well called Well 11 out in McCormick Woods that we're advancing designs on. And we recently got a grant, and I'll talk about this a little bit more, for a roundabout on Bethel at Lincoln and Bethel. We're working on a downtown master plan. We would have liked to have completed our parks plan last year, but it's really difficult to do community outreach during this pandemic. You need to get very creative. And so that project has been delayed and should be completed this year. We want to create a sub-area plan for the McCormick Village, and I've got a slide. I'll show a little more about that. And we're going to design at least 30% of the community center. We've selected a site, which is the current Kitsap Bank site. I've got an appraiser engaged, and we need to negotiate a purchase and sale. I've got to work to facilitate this master plan project. That commitment we got from the Public Facilities District for $12 million of that $20 million community center, which includes a new library for our community, is a three-legged stool. We have to bring all three elements: one, the community center; two, the bank's new headquarters; and three, the housing element, which is the 200 housing units across the street. All three of those elements need to move forward for us to realize the $12 million that have been pledged to us from the Public Facilities District. It's imperative to me that we retain Kitsap Bank's headquarters in our downtown, and it's part of this project. And we've been talking about City Hall. The roof leaks, the windows leak, and that's, we have a presentation later this month to the City Council from a consultant we've hired. We're going to likely spend about $7 million on City Hall in upgrades, siding, windows, a new heating system, and a roof. And that's more than we spent to build the building, but it would cost about $40 million to replace this building. So it's just, we've got to keep this building weather tight so we don't have water intrusion. And in the Northwest, that creates things growing in your walls, and we don't want to ever have that happen. So, we continue to work on sub-area plans and goals that and engage with our citizens so that we're creating these, a city that's the right fit and vision for our citizens, and because we're growing rapidly. We've made in this current budget significant progress is planned in street preservation and maintenance. We continue to invest in technology and that improves efficiency. Employees are expensive, and it's by investing in technology, I can get more out of the people that we have without having to hire more employees with public dollars. Early this year, we've opened our public records portal, so you'll be able to access public documents through a self-service portal. There's a limited amount of information there, old council meeting minutes and things of that nature, but that's we spend a tremendous amount of staff hours and resources providing people access to those records, and it's much more efficient for us to put these on a portal. Unfortunately, many of these records though are in paper, and we've got to scan them and digitalize them to be able to efficiently do that. We constantly hear about data breaches and ransomware, and I don't ever want to see our city a victim of that. So we're making investments in cybersecurity. And currently we have 4 police officer openings, and we could probably only train 2 at a time. So we're looking for the right people in lateral hires. And also we're currently interviewing for entry-level police officers. So there's opportunities there. Our police department is also implemented a community advisory board with representatives of our community. And our police department is working to become an accredited police department, and we're about 60% there. I continue to advocate for Port Orchard as an executive board member of the Puget Sound Regional Council and lobby for Port Orchard during session. As a matter of fact, last week I was testifying on a transportation package that has compact roundabouts for Sedgwick to replace those traffic lights, which I know are much needed. And there's a coalition for improvements to Gorse is being formed with cities and other I know Matt is participating in that. So touch quickly on capital, some of our new hires, and our street preservation program. And in our capital construction in this current biennium that we just started, we are going to retrofit our splash pad in McCormick Woods. We built that splash pad. This last year, we didn't have an opportunity because of COVID to turn it on, but it was popular beyond our wildest beliefs, and going through in the summer months about $8,000 worth of water a month, and because it doesn't have a recycling system. So we're going to put a water treatment and recycling system onto that. We got a donation from the South Kitsap Rotary Club to do some lighting improvements at Etta Turner Park, and put some seasonal power for seasonal lighting on the bridge. And we're designing, as I talked about, improvements for City Hall. On the capital construction front for the street, we've got the Bay Street pedestrian path right-of-way. We've got a Bethel design I'll talk more about here in a moment. And we want to create more pedestrian improvements. So we've got some designs that we're going to start for multimodal improvements to better connect the neighborhoods in McCormick Woods, getting across the street and to our fabulous park that we have out there. We also have some federal money that we received for what we're calling Bay Street Path West. We've got funding to finish the pathway to Annapolis, and the Bay Street Path West will take us from the ferry terminal westerly along our waterfront, up the boulevard, and connect it to Tremont. And when built, we will have a multimodal pathway from Annapolis, the ferry, all the way to Highway 16, which I think is great to be able to ride a bicycle or to walk safely on any of those areas. I talked a little bit about the marina pump station that we're designing, and that should be going to construction in the second half of the biennium. The council supported 4 new employees in this current biennium. With all the building activity, we needed another engineer. We've got an entry-level engineering position posted right now. If you know of somebody that's a candidate for that, please encourage them to apply at the city. We're always looking for good people. We had our building inspector retire, and we made a decision to elevate that position to a building official, which is just a higher set of credentials. Our police department, we shared through a grant with another city, a community health navigator. That grant went away. We saw value in that program, and we're partnering with South Kitsap Fire and Rescue to fund that employee as a mental health and substance abuse navigator in our community, to get people that are out on the streets to help if they want help. And with our growing city with nearly 85 employees, we have an IT department of 1. And when you're trying to implement more and new technology, that's just insufficient. Steve can't keep up with the demands of our city. So we're going to be hiring a new IT specialist to help out in that area. The street program that I talked about, we are going to put nearly $5 million into our streets in this biennium. We're going to invest in some equipment to do crack sealing that we have historically haven't had that type of equipment, and which will allow us to preserve and maintain our streets a little bit better. And we have nearly $835,000 for paving. Typical budgets for the city have about $200,000 for paving restoration. So this is a significant investment. And we don't want to ever be in a situation like West Seattle is right now. That Lund Bridge, well, it doesn't have nearly the traffic that the West Seattle Bridge, but it is a main corridor, and we every couple of years need to thoroughly inspect that bridge and perform preventative maintenance so that we don't ever have any problems with that bridge. So the city applied for 6 grants this past year, and if I had to rank them 1 to 6, we got number 6 that we wanted. I would say that our number 1 priority is probably a roundabout at Salmonberry and Bethel, and definitely the Sedgwick 16 interchange is the highest priority, but those are both state routes, and those are the state's responsibilities. But from the city's side of the ledger, we desperately need a roundabout at Salmonberry. We've got a corridor plan for Bethel, and Bethel is more, the improvements on Bethel are more than $50 million, and we can't tackle a project that large in one large project. So we've broken it into 5 phases. And unfortunately, when you're applying for grants, capacity improvements don't score as well as safety improvements. So the grant that we were successful on is because of the number of accidents related to the Mitchell Y. We received a $1.5 million grant for a $2.8 million project for a roundabout at Lumberg Lane and Lincoln, and we'll be designing that project this year and hope to go to construction next year on a brand new roundabout there. So we'll have one more roundabout in the city of Port Orchard there at Lumberg Lane. I talked a little bit about the Ruby Creek sub-area plan, and we completed that this past year. One of the elements if you can see where I'm hovering my cursor, Kitsap Transit is proposing a 200-car park and ride lot on the easterly side of this area, and so this is what we're envisioning for that corridor. Ground floor retail, mixed use projects with ground floor retail and housing above, and apartments and potentially condominiums in this area. So Uh, those are the plans that we have for that area.
Hey, Rob, where's
Yes.
Ruby Creek? What is that?
Sedgwick and Sydney heading that picture that I'm showing you. To the bottom of my screen is the intersection at Sedgwick and Sydney. And this is heading north on Sydney back towards the city. So you get an idea where that is. So your Albertsons is on one corner of that. You've got the is it a Burger King? I think it is on the one corner, and the Chevron gas station. And then Rush Development is building live work units on the other corner, that on the vacant lot. They should be breaking ground on that soon.
Okay.
This is the concepts for McCormick Village, and we intend to in this next biennium do a sub-area plan for this area. You'll see in the next few months, McCormick Communities start construction of a roundabout at Old Clifton, and what will be a new road at Campus Parkway. And it's just west of our McCormick Village Park. And there's some Quadrant is doing some multi-family or single-family dwellings back in this back corner. And McCormick Village will have townhomes. It will have cottage style homes and a small and a commercial village. And we'll be doing a sub area plan for that in the next couple of years. But this is just kind of gives you a feel for what they're envisioning out there in what's called McCormick Village. Moving to our community center, we went through an extensive process this past year to identify the site for our community center. When it was proposed initially, the thought was it would be at the 7-Eleven site. And when the city took this project over, the first thing I did was reached out to the owners of that building and asked if their property was for sale. And they told me it wasn't. So I didn't want to fight a battle over that. And so we started with 7 sites, narrowed them to 3. Site A was the current Kitsap Bank site. Site B was the current library site. And Site C was a community center that would be part of the parking garage and multifamily project across the street. And as we surveyed the community and ahead of developing our site selection criteria, it became very important. It became apparent that it's very important to our community that the access to the waterfront plaza area, places to do festivals as part of this community center was very important to our community. And as a result, the current Kitsap Bank site really checked all the boxes related to that. It's going to enable us to do some shoreline restoration, expand our pathway. And what you're seeing there is Orchard Street, just to the east between the current Kitsap Bank building and its drive-through, will likely become a public plaza between the 2 buildings. And much of that parking that you're going to see that's outside the marina office is probably going to get moved, and you're probably going to see more open space and plaza in there as we plan for this community center to be built in the coming years. So people talk about affordable housing, and I just wanted to share some information. I know I've got some realtors on the here today, and this is some data that I got from the State Department of Commerce, and I had all the cities. So I highlighted the city of Port Orchard, the other cities in our community. So a score of 100 means that a home buyer in a community has enough money with the median household income in that community to afford a home. So a score above 100 means they have more than enough. And a score under 100 is problematic for that community. Somebody with median household income can't afford your average home in that community. And I just grabbed some other communities. You know, you've heard about how hot the real estate market is in Tacoma, and you can see their affordability index, and that's a component as to why. And you know, we're seeing rampant growth in our community, and some of the things that I've put in place, I'm very, you know, my background is a banker. I'm very pro business. I'm also, I think growing our economy is important, but we need to grow responsibly. Development needs to pay its fair share of the infrastructure costs of that growth. And some of the things we've done during my administration is also we've developed design standards, because we always historically we haven't gotten the best quality projects, and I'm really trying to raise the bar on the type of projects we're getting, and I think you're seeing that. And what we built on Tremont and how we're maintaining that, the McCormick Village Park, the Rockwell Park, and some of the housing developments we're getting now, that we're getting better quality development. And I think that's important as we're growing, that we get the type of growth that we're comfortable with and that meets our standards. With that, while we want to maintain affordability, we also need development to help pay for this growth. I know you can't read this chart. It's the print gets too small. So I'll point out to you, Port Orchard is about to increase its traffic impact fees, and the only people that pay these traffic impact fees is new development. And so currently, if a new single family home is being built, you would pay an impact fee of $2,552 in the city of Port Orchard. And we've updated our what's called a TIP, traffic and improvement plan, and all the projects that we want to accomplish in the next 6 years. And that is the driver for the impact fee. And you can see that we're in the bottom 25% right now. And after the city council takes action potentially on next Tuesday evening, we will be near $5,000 per home. And that puts us in the top third. Paulsbo is would still be about 4 above us, and Bainbridge Island and Bremerton do not have impact fees. And the very top city up there is the city of Sammamish at $14,000 per resident. I'm trying to find anybody that's close to Lakewood. There is at looks like about $9,000. And Des Moines and Paulsbo, they're in the mid 5,000s. So just to kind of give you a barometer for where we're at. Just, you know, running the day-to-day operations of the city is just the tip of the iceberg for what I do as the mayor. You know, I'm active on numerous boards for Puget Sound Regional Council, Association of Washington City, the regional boards. And then it's still important to me too. I'm a past president of this Chamber of Commerce, my Rotary Club also, and to do things that are important to me in our community is also important. You know, and as we plan for our future, you know, we're going to need an additional reservoir. We need sewer improvements out in Sedgwick. I've talked a little bit about the Sedgwick and Highway 16 interchange and my lobbying efforts there. We've got a community called Flower Meadows at the south end of Sydney that was built before our current development standards. It lacks sidewalks and stormwater improvements, and there's a lot of people that live out there and kids walking to bus stops and things, and we need to make some significant investments in that area, and continuing to maintain and improve our streets. We've got city hall needs, parks needs, and social issues related to homelessness and addiction. And one of the tools, as I talked about, we're employing the Navigator. With that, I'll stop sharing my screens. I know I've talked 100 miles an hour. And I gave you a lot of information, and I'd love to answer questions.
All right, thank you, Mayor Rob. So if anybody has any questions, go ahead, and if you could raise your hand on the participant side of things. Let me change my view. Sometimes it's easier to flap like a bird rather than raise your hand. So if you have a question, I'd be willing to try to take those too. But let me start out, Rob. The traffic impact fees, that is in addition to the other fees like the schools and
We have a school impact fee, you're correct. We have a parks impact fee, which when we finish our parks plan, that will likely, because we have to identify what parks our community wants. And then growth needs to pay its proportionate share of those new parks. And traffic impact fees cannot be used to pay for existing deficiencies, but they need to pay for capacity improvements, though, related to growth.
okay.
And it's one of the few tools that local government has to build roads.
All right, outstanding. Misha, thanks for joining us today, and she did give you a shout out there. Says that we appreciate you. In case you hadn't seen that, thank you for that comment. I can't believe nobody's got any questions for the mayor.
I know you guys usually grill me. Come on.
I do.
No, this is your chance.
I raised my hand.
Oh, you're right,
Miller, I recognize your voice. There you are.
Yeah. So I have a question about the development out towards McCormick Woods and the McCormick Village community specifically. That looks like it would potentially bring a lot of families to the area. So I'm curious, we're working on projecting enrollment right now over the next several years. And do you have any idea of the timeline that is looking like?
They want building houses. They're currently building houses. I think this summer they're going to start building houses there in that parcel A. You're seeing that. That's on the corner there across from the sewer lift station. The village is probably a couple of years out. Also, the McCormick, a lot of people get spun up that, oh my gosh, we're cutting all these trees down out there in the McCormick Woods area. And the development rights associated with the McCormick Woods sub area were actually granted in the 80s as part of a development agreement with Kitsap County. We annexed that, and a new developer who's actually really bringing developing it and bringing homes to market has entitlements, and it's really just we can charge traffic impact fees and school impact fees and park impact fees and put design standards so that we get it the way we want to. But that area is planned for about 2,500 more homes. And you're going to see, I think, 300 houses a year if this economy holds being built in that area over the next 5 to 7 years or longer, depending. It just depends on the economy and the housing market. And right now the housing market is really strong.
Thank you.
And I did offer our development director, Nick Bond, I've offered him to Superintendent Winters to maybe give a presentation to the school board, because he's even more knowledgeable than I am, because he's in the trenches on that. And he's great about giving presentations to realtors associations and things of that nature. And our police chief would love to come give you guys an overview of what we're doing, exciting things too here at the chamber with a community advisory board and the accreditation work he's doing. Matt Brown, our new police chief, he's been with us about 1.5 years, is doing great work. And another South Kitsap graduate, Donna Main, who's one of our sergeants, was just recently promoted to deputy chief. And she is going to do great things. She has been doing great things in the city, and I'm really excited for her promotion and what her energy and what she's bringing to our city and our police department.
So I do know, Mayor Rob, that I have an interview with Deputy Chief Main this afternoon. She's got a 1 o'clock Zoom, and then I've got I'm interviewing her right after that. So that'll go up as one of our podcasts and videocasts next week. I'm on the that advisory board with the police department, and so that's I tell you that was darn enlightening, spending the time, visiting with Chief Brown and the others in the community to hear what the exciting things that are going on with that. And I know that it's been a couple months since the Economic Development and Tourism Committee met. Do you have any idea, Rob, on the numbers of building permits that have been issued? Because Nick usually gives us those numbers.
I don't have. I know he gave me a scary number that is causing us to look at our staffing in our planning department. His pipeline, and a pipeline is anything that somebody's come in and talked to you about, has 1,400 housing units in it. About half of that is residential or single family, and about half of it is multifamily. And if half of that, I mean, a banner year is 200 or 300 units in our housing market, and to have if half of that came to market in the next year and a half, I mean, wow, that's a lot of growth and a lot of new housing units. And I don't have current numbers off the top of my head. What we did do, we had a strong year last year. I know that, and probably in the 300 units, somewhere around there. I see a comment in chat about the community center, and the answer is I don't. And what programs are going to have, we don't know yet. While we're starting that process is the next phase. We've selected a site, and we heard from the community, and there's going to be a lot more community outreach. What I can tell you is it's a 20,000 square foot, likely 2-story building, because the site of the pad. The current Kitsap Bank site sits also on DNR leased land, and we would demolish if we're able to purchase the bank site, and they build their new headquarters over where Peninsula Beverage was previously, the gravel lot with a fence around it and their drive-through. They will relocate over there. We would tear down the bank. We would step back off of the DNR leased property and build it a little farther from the shoreline. And that would create open space and plaza and our pathway in front of it. It will have roughly half of the space would be a brand new library. We've had conversations with the school district, and they're interested they need a home for their crew program. They haul these shells down to the waterfront, and whether it's the crew program or a kayak rental business, I think there's an opportunity on one end of this building for that. I'm hopeful to see maybe a coffee shop or something of that nature in it, and some co-working space potentially, and of course meeting and event space. And of City Hall's running out of space, and it's going to be really expensive for me to add on to this building, and I have a whole floor, or half of a floor of this building that is devoted to city council meetings and planning commission meetings. That tremendous amount of space gets used one evening a week, and that's not a very efficient use of that space. So I would like to see us move those public meetings and public events. Our needs are very similar to what a corporate client would need for a board meeting or a retreat and that type of stuff. So I see a space to hold the Chamber of Commerce meeting, because this is going to have a small commercial kitchen in it, I believe. So we haven't designed it yet. That's the next step, and there's going to be a lot of outreach in the community. And if you've got ideas, we want to hear from you.
And I would also say that it's been about a year or so now that Mayor Rob and I know that Councilwoman Lucarelli and I, along with representatives from the library, we took a trip up to the Kingston facility up there, and it's really impressive of what they've done up there. It had a computer room that could be leased out and used for training. The commercial kitchen was great. It's where you could do just about anything you wanted to as far as a gathering is concerned. So
we don't have as much property as they have. So you would, smaller footprint, 2 stories, and we aren't going to have the gym and the boys and girls club, in ours. It's very unlikely. We just don't have the room to accommodate that. And I see another question in chat about developments in the Mile Hill area, and I wish I had some answers for you. That is in the city's urban growth area, but it's not in the city. So if you're traveling up Mile Hill, just Whittier is the end of the city limits on the north side, and the Armory is the end of the city limits on the southerly side and it's possible that someday that those areas going all the way up Mile Hill could become part of the city if those property owners ask to become part of the city. But I know there's a vacant grocery store, but that particular area is within Kitsap County and not in the city limits. Good question, though.
Anybody else have any other questions? Does anybody else raise their hand? Nope, nobody's raised their hand.
Somebody asking about, you can find those job openings on our website. The engineering position is open. We're actively recruiting police officers, and the IT position will probably be posted in the next week or two. You can sign up for email alerts. You can sign up for our Facebooks. We share all of that on Facebook and our website. So yes, we're actively hiring here at the city.
All right. Thank you, Mayor Rob. So there you go, folks. It's a lot to take in. There's a lot going on down here in South Kitsap and in the city of Port Orchard. Hope you will join us again later next week or this week, next week, for an interview that I did with the new deputy chief for the city of Port Orchard, Miss Donna Main. And great interview with Donna. Great story there. Hope you will join us for that. And in the meantime, remember, love local, shop local. Have a great day, folks.